Hey everyone, it's your favorite orphan, Lauren-Blair Donovan. Kind of long time no see. I've been busy on this channel with other series. Once I got vaccinated, it turned out that I kind of wanted to be out of my apartment versus in my apartment filming videos by myself. Funny how that worked out. What a shock. Who would have thunk? Don't worry, I'm still me. My definition of going out and living life after surviving a pandemic meant going to, I don't know, a lot of cemeteries in the Los Angeles area. That's right. If you are a subscriber to my channel, Hardy Har Har Comedy, you know that I have another series where I'm pretty deathy as well, where I go to cemeteries with other comedian friends. We look for famous graves of celebrities and we talk about death. Now, it is different than the series Good Grief, which explores the heavier emotions and what it's like to grieve, what to do or not do for a grieving person, normalizing feelings a griever might have. Creepy and kooky Callie. It's not just about cemeteries, although it mostly is at this moment in time, is not so much about the heavy emotions. It is, however, about normalizing a dialogue about death. There's this whole death positive movement out there that is just about talking about this life fact and not necessarily the emotions about it, but just normalizing the idea that we're going to die and we need to figure out what we want for our after death plans. Like, what kind of funeral do we want? Cremation or burial or something more green? And it's empowering to know your options and all the gory kind of literally details that come with it. While I'm hardly an expert in postmortem, I'm not a stranger to talking about death, so it seemed like a natural leap that that's how I'd want to spend my time now that it's safe to go out in public with friends. But my work will never be done with grieving because I could yammer on for forever and still have more to say about grief because we don't talk about grief and heavy emotions and death nearly enough in this society. So here we are. I guess this is an unofficial season 2, although I'm not really doing seasons. Quick refresher, if you're new to the series or if you've forgotten, because it has been several months since I have uploaded a new video, this is by no means meant to replace, therapy. I don't possess the monolith of how all grieving people feel. While I do think that there would be a large Venn diagram overlap in more cases than not, every experience is different, every circumstance is different, everyone's capabilities of handling things and expressing how they're feeling, it's going to run the gamut. I'm just a vessel to try to be like, hey, we need to talk about this, and these are my personal experiences, so that's the point of this whole series. Let's get back into it. So this is a video that I've been putting off since I started Good Grief because buckle up here. I'm gonna have a hot take, right? I'm always talking about how we don't normalize heavy emotions and grief in general. I don't know if we really talk a lot about friendship in culture either. Now, granted, it's not as heavy duty as a topic, fair enough. That said though, I feel like so many types of media mostly represent family relationships and romantic relationships. Romantic relationships are all over music. There's really not a lot of friendship songs, and probably for good reason, because most are pretty corny. Not sorry. I mean, we have that jam by Stevie Wonder and Elton John, and was it Patti LaBelle? That's what friends are for. We have the Golden Girls song, Thank You for Being a Friend. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I've listened to those really loudly in my car because they are slow bangers. Not sorry. But for the most part, most of music takes up talking about romantical feelings. And a lot of movies and television are not just about romantic feelings, they're about families. There's a lot of family dramedies, especially from the 21st century, like Parenthood or Brothers and Sisters. And while of course there's 100% shows about friends, like the show Friends, they're kind of about these close-knit friend circles that have almost no other friends, and they borderline don't even see their families. Like, I think in Friends, they saw their families on actual Thanksgiving, like maybe in 2 seasons over 10 years. I might be wrong, but I'm not that far off. And the truth of the matter is, not every friend of yours is going to be a friend of that level. In fact, I would argue very few people in your life are the level of friends that Friends or How I Met Your Mother or other similar shows are. that just feels unrealistic because Hollywood wrote it a certain type of way and it's not based in reality. But my kind of long-winded point is to say that there's a lot of different levels of friendship. There's a lot of different types of even close friends one can have. Someone's definition of a close friend could be that they talk every day. Someone else's definition of a close friend could be that time can go on for long periods of time and you can pick up where you've left off. I don't think either is inherently wrong, but we don't have a consensus in society of which one's more right, and that can lead to a lot of different misunderstandings and hurt feelings and expectations that are not met. And it's like a weird thing to tackle a series that already talks about things that are not really normalized in everyday conversation. Like, I don't know, having both your parents be dead at too young of an age, but it is an extra level of weird when it's like, what's my definition of friends versus another person's definition of friends versus, I don't even know. I'm gonna try to be concise, but I feel like this is gonna be a long episode because I have a lot of thoughts and I haven't had a lot of places to put these thoughts. So here we go. There's kind of always been this adage where you find out who your real friends are when you go through something hard. And in this internet age, there's that meme and like viral something or another that was going on that was like, if you can't handle me at my worst, you can't have me at my best. And while I don't inherently disagree with the general idea of those mantras, because at the end of the day, you want people that are going to see you for the good, the bad, the ugly, and stand by your side no matter what. Nobody wants fair-weathered friends. I do think it's a little bit more complicated than that. Here's the thing. I lost my dad when I was 19 years old. And that's a weird age because you're technically an adult. You can vote, you can buy porn, you can go to war. But look, the older you get, the more you realize when you're 19, you're just not an adult. You're 19 watching. I'm not offending you. Congratulations. You're young, actually. If anything, I'm complimenting you. But you're a very young adult. And my friends at the time were between the ages of 17 and 21, give or take. Most people were above their pay grade when it came to handling me. Like, not because they were bad people or even necessarily bad friends. They were just finishing their senior year of high school, or they had just gotten back from college and wanted to have a bitchin' summer and didn't want to hang out with Tragedy Girl. And I'm not saying that excuses anyone, because there were friends that showed up and magically knew how to be in my corner. And I'm so thankful for them. There was a handful of friends that did that, and I'm going to get back to them in a second. But I definitely was, more often than not, let down by certain friends. Whether they just didn't show up for me, whether they failed to check in, or they checked in once and called it good and didn't understand that there was more work to be done, whether they kind of overwhelmed me with their more teenage problems when I was dealing with literal life and death issues. It wasn't fun to be me. I don't want to gloss over that. I think no matter what age you are, you want your friends to show up when things suck. Fair enough. But what's really interesting to me looking back, some of the people who, for lack of a better term, failed me after my dad passed away are amongst my closest friends now. Because who we are in our late adolescence and early adulthood, it doesn't indicate who we're going to be for the rest of our lives. We all have experiences that shape us and polish us and mold us. And some of my friends just really became these wonderful, well-rounded, emotionally intelligent, thoughtful human beings. And regarding my friends, the handful of friends that were just in my corner and, especially in retrospect, magically seemed to know how to show up for me and not say the wrong thing and just be supportive in the ways that I didn't even ask for, because I didn't even know what I needed. They just did the things that I needed. I'm in touch with all of them, but I'm not best friends with all of them. In fact, out of the handful of people that did that, there's only one woman who I'm very close with in a real, current, and consistent sense of the word. Other people, sometimes we actually don't talk that often, but it's never weird when we do. And some of these people I'm like close with in the sense of we check in on each other, but we kind of keep it relatively superficial because we're not totally aware of our day-to-day lives, and there's just not a lot of places to branch off from just general check-ins, but we're going to be loyal to each other for the rest of our lives because we have been so far. And then there's, people where it's pretty sporadic, but that's okay. A part of growing up means that you're not going to grow together with everyone. My point being that as much as it's a beautiful and simple and clear-cut idea to be like, you were bad to me at a time in my life, you're gone, you're dead to me, I don't know how realistic that is. Life is fluid. Friendships are fluid. I'm not trying to say if you're grieving that you shouldn't feel alienated by your friends not showing up for you, because trust me, I know how bad that is, and your feelings are valid, and you need to set whatever boundaries you need to set to get through this, and we're going to circle back to boundaries, trust me. But I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe hope is not lost if people are not showing up for you. Maybe they don't know how because of age, or maybe they don't know how to because they've never, even if they're like 60, maybe they've had a weirdly sheltered life and they don't know how to be there for someone because they haven't witnessed a lot of people's lives falling apart. Must be nice, but I guess those people exist. And some people are going through their own really heavy stuff, and I've had to kind of make peace as an adult when my mom died 3.5 years ago, and I'm still wrestling with this, candidly. But some people who didn't show up for me, I think it's because they had their own demons, and it doesn't make it right. Because again, I was dealing with literal life and death, where they, in more cases than not, I would argue, were not. But I try to have grace and look at things from their perspective and see how in over their heads they were with their own life. It sucks they didn't show up for me, but I guess intellectually I can understand maybe why my situation was too dark. Not everyone has to take the approach that I did, and trust me, boundaries are real. Not all those people are in my innermost circle right now. Some people I'm not necessarily very close with even at the moment. We're going to circle back to that as well. But life is messy. Friends are messy. I'm on your side if you're grieving, if you're the one that's lost people. I'm just sort of sharing, I guess, how I've survived and not become bitter, if nothing else, and how I've tried to humanize people, because I think we also live in a culture where we like to say us versus them, good versus evil. Good friends versus terrible people even. I don't know if it's always that simple. Take or leave this part of the video. I just really wanted to start with it because I think it contextualizes a broader picture of a lot of what I'm going to say in this video, and the rest of it will be more about boundaries and maybe even taking a time out from friends. The thing that probably drives me the most crazy, being in the shoes that I am, where most of my immediate family is dead, is when people love to talk about chosen family or how friends can be like family. Ooh, it's not my favorite, because while it's not inherently untrue, I do think that you can form your own bonds or groups, but I don't know. A lot of the people that love to talk about chosen family the most, at least in my experience, are the people who go home to their families on the holidays. Stay tuned for my holiday video coming up. It is gonna be a doozy. Or they're the people who have more support than a lot of people. It almost feels like they're being greedy. It's not a perfect description, but look, when someone like me who really doesn't have a lot of immediate family, or other people who come from maybe more alive families, but from incredibly toxic situations that they have had to escape, our friends are our family because they have to be. If we're in a position where there's a significant other of, well, significance, It's a little less pressure on the friends, for sure. And I've had it a lot of different ways for what it's worth. I don't really like to talk about my current situations on the internet because I share a lot already and I need to keep some stuff for myself. But as somebody who really has had it both ways, the times that I have been single and my family was either less available and or dead, being told that my friends are like my family by people who have more than I might ever have ever again is really tone deaf. People who have parents and siblings and or a significant other have 3 slots that can be the emergency contact. I have friends if I'm single, and I have a partner if I'm not, and then friends. There's no parents. I bring this up because people have sort of said that to me as if that's helpful. It's like, oh, your friends can be your family. And I'm like, okay. And the thing is, that doesn't, first of all, your friends being your family, quote unquote, not take away the pain of like, I don't know, having your actual family be dead. Like, it's not really going to be a substitute. And not only are they not maybe obligated to give you a kidney, even if they wanted to, they're probably not going to be a good match, like blood match or however they match kidneys. I don't know a lot about it, to be honest. Yeah, they're probably off the hook whether they're offering or not, because if you're not genetically tied together, the odds are not necessarily with you. It's very strange to go through life and not have people that you belong to. So there's that. And also a lot of the people that have tried to like be like, look on the bright side, your friends can be your family. In addition to being tone deaf, they're usually the type of people that don't show up for me. They're the type of people who blow me off or like don't follow through with what they promise, or they forget to check in on me on holidays. Like, it's weird. The lady doth protest too much. I feel like friends like family or chosen family has kind of become this like trend, where it makes you feel like edgy and like vagabond and metropolitan. And it's like, well, some of us really live that existence and it doesn't feel as good as it looks on Instagram when you have like a Friendsgiving, but then you go home for Christmas the next month to see your actual family. I don't get to do that. So what I kind of like to say to my friends, and I've kind of, because I've had a little bit of a rough 2021 without going into details, and what I've been trying to tell my LA friends, who I've known best case scenario for 4 years, almost 2 have been in some semblance of a pandemic, I'm trying to be a lot more vocal about who I am and what I need. And what seems to keep falling on deaf ears is that my friends are going to mean more to me than I'm going to mean to them. And that's depressing AF. What I'm trying to say is you can't say these nice little pleasantries like friends can be your family and I'm there for you and then not show up, because it's going to have a bigger ripple effect for someone like me with or without a partner, because that's only one person, than it would for someone else who has more pools to drink from and get support from. If someone blows me off, if somebody doesn't have my best intentions at heart or doesn't see me for who I am and I'm just trying to be heard, it's gonna really hurt me. And then it's gonna be insulting if they're like, but friends can be your family. It's not comforting. It's not. Like, why would anyone think that it's weird? But I've literally been told that as like a means of like, look on the bright side. And it's like, okay. My friends being my family is my last resort, not because I don't love them. I really love my friends, actually, but I love their families too, and they have to prioritize them over me. And intellectually, I get that, but my heart breaks a little bit knowing that I don't have that. It's hard. I don't want to sugarcoat that. It's really hard. I've lived in 4 places and I've kept friends from all those places, but the only 2 people that I really kind of do consider like family are 2 women, one of whom I grew up with and was probably not coincidentally one of the people that was magically there for me when I was 19, as well as is the one that's still one of my close friends, and another woman I met when I lived in Denver. And I feel like they're my sisters because they have showed up for me. We don't really necessarily talk about how we're sisters because we don't have a lot to prove, but it has been said once or twice for sure with both of my friendships with these women. But they have showed up for me in ways that were so big and so powerful and so moving, and in ways that I didn't even have to ask for. And to me, that's what family really is. I have a lot of friends, and I'm not trying to humble brag on the internet, says the orphan girl in her series about how no one listens to her or sees her because she's like tragedy girl and no one likes that. I really do make friends easily, but I have two that I feel really seen by and really, through the test of time, have proven to be like family. Just because we get along and we like the same music, we've done comedy together, it's not the same. It's not. And I think that should be normalized. We can like each other a lot and not be replacements for each other's family. That could happen if we're lucky, but it's going to take time to get there. Friendships don't happen overnight, and good friendships certainly don't get a good foundation overnight. One of the hairier parts about friendship and grieving is not all friends are helpful, but my God, they're trying to be and often failing. I think what I would stress to somebody who's grieving right now is to really do an honest assessment, as clinical as humanly possible, meaning no matter how much you love your friends, try to see them objectively and figure out what shelf to put them on, even if it's just temporarily through the first year or two after the loss of your loved one. Some friends are not emotionally comfortable. They don't know what to do when someone cries. They don't like the heavy, deep, philosophical, existential talks. However, they're gonna want to do your grocery shopping, or they're going to send you memes all day, every day to try to make you laugh, or they'll bring you soup or flowers if you're in the hospital or sick, or Postmates you. Those friends are valuable. Even if they're not going to be emotional pillars of strength, they're not for nothing. And I think so much of life is about adjusting expectations, which sucks when you're already going through so much and you have to like kind of bear the emotional labor and know where to put people, but it's for your own good more than it is for them. Where if you're hoping your friend who's very uncomfortable with emotions is gonna like hold you and like, you know, play with your hair as you fall asleep crying, they're not gonna do that. And that's just gonna lead to disappointment. That said, in my experience, a lot of like very emotionally comfortable people can be a little flaky, and I don't know why that is. I cannot imagine I'm the only person that sees that like correlation, but a lot of people who really love to talk about real life stuff, they're not the type of people that are gonna remember to text you on Christmas, or they're not the type of people to help you do the more practical things, like clean out your loved one's home or closet or whatever the circumstances are, or are going to be the ones to be there for you when you have car trouble and the person that you used to have rides from is now passed on. They're not always going to do that, but they can be an emotional rock and see you for what you're really going through in other ways. And some people are just there for a good time, and while that sort of seems like it should be like, you know, get rid of them. No, Marie Kondo, I don't watch any of her stuff, but from what I understand, if it brings you joy, you can keep it. If not, let it go. But the thing is, the friends that are there for a good time, you're gonna have fun with them. They're there for a good time. Good times are about joy. You're gonna have moments where you're not gonna want to be thinking about your dead relatives or partner, and you're gonna want to go to an amusement park and scream your head off on roller coasters, or you're gonna want to go to a concert or a game night. Look, I don't think you have to abolish anyone from your life unless they cross your boundaries, then I understand. I think it's just really important to know what different friends you have in your life and what purposes that they serve, because it'll save you a headache for sure. You can't really be psychic and know for sure how people are going to respond. Some people are going to rise to a level that's higher than you thought that they could. And there are going to be people who you thought would be your rock and they're going to fail to deliver, and I'm so sorry. But I think intuitively, you might have a good idea where most of the people in your life are going to land. And if you set yourself up for those expectations, I think it would just be easier to navigate. All right, but where do new friends fit into all of this? And I'm an expert at this because I transferred to a new college 7 months after my dad died, and ironically, my mom died 7 months after I moved to Los Angeles. I'd say every time I move to a city, it's kind of bookended with some kind of tragedy, but I did move to Denver, and no one in my family died within the year before or after, so I guess there's that. New friends, I think, are tricky. Oh, hi, honey. Okay. This is my new dog, Grimaldi. In the old videos, you probably heard my dog, Lucy, walk around a lot when I was filming because she knew I was doing something and couldn't sit still. She passed away, unfortunately. But now I have Lady Grimaldi. Stay in frame, stay in frame. And now she's like, what are you doing? Because I think I filmed maybe one of these while I had her. And so you were just crying and walking around. So I think she's going to be in my lap. I don't think she's going to stay in frame, but she wants to lie down. But if she pops up, that's what's going on. Like right now. Where was I? New friends are really tricky because there's that meme. I don't even like memes, but I really do like this one where it's like an iceberg tipping out over the ocean. And it's like, this is how much you know about the person. And then the rest of the photo is like the ocean and the big iceberg getting bigger underneath of it. And it's like, that's what you don't know about their life. I think that is so important to remember if you have a new friend who recently lost someone. Look, it's not all about crying about the person that you lost. A lot of issues get triggered really, really deeply when someone dies, which sounds like a Captain Obvious thing, but I don't think it is. I think people forget it's not just what's in front of them. Objects are always going to be a lot deeper rooted than they appear. And depending on what other lot in life they have currently, like, are they in the middle of a breakup? Are they going through job stress? The death of a loved one is just going to double down and compound everything, and it's not going to be a good time. I think the best things that you can do is to ask questions, but to not pry, which is a weird balance to strike, but I do think there's a difference. And I think it's really important to remember that no matter how many good hangouts you had in a row, there's still going to be so much that you don't know. I had a friend who at the time really was being kind to me after my mom died, but things eventually went downhill. And one of the first examples of that happening was I was just trying to express how frustrated I was, not at her, but just like, and I was saying it in a very even voice, kind of like I am now, borderline bubbly, where it's just like, I'm like, it's just so hard. My mom died, and now it's like everyone has questions about the rest of my family and what happened to my dad. And, you know, I say what has happened, I give honest answers, but I've had this really complicated life. I've lived in a lot of different places. I've had a lot of different experiences, kind of had 9 lives, kind of like a cat, even though I'm a dog person. Weird, I know. But it just takes a while to really get to know me because there's a lot of context clues that are missing. And once you see it all in focus, people are like, oh, no wonder you're sensitive to that. Or another friend recently kind of realized like so much of my small town upbringing informs a lot of my sensibilities, where she's kind of more cityfied, and was like, oh, this explains so much about you. And she thought I was kind of like a rube probably, but no, I've made active choices to keep certain small town isms in my life for various reasons. That's like another video, probably not even for another time. Look, everyone is really complicated. Even the most simple simpleton probably has a more complicated backstory than you would think. So I'm telling this friend it's just really frustrating to be going through this like traumatic event, my mom dying, my last parent dying, and people don't understand, besides the obvious, why it's traumatic. Because people don't really know me out here, because no one has had the space or time to get to know me, which was true. And her response was, I think I know you pretty well. First of all, if someone's saying people don't really know me and you haven't known them that long, then they're right. You shouldn't combat it with, no, I'm going to negate your reality and say, I know you well. I don't really know much about your exes, and I don't really know much about your friends from other states, and I actually don't really know much about your other relatives, and I don't really know much about even the immediate family members who have died, including the one that's actually alive still. But yeah, I know you well. Yeah. Said no one ever, except this one girl. And I was like, what? She wasn't really listening to me. And long story short, surprisingly, we're not really friends because, well, she never really listened to me and she tried to always oversimplify kind of everything about me. Don't do that to people. If you're new, be patient with people's grief stories. There's more than meets the eye. And finally, there's the question, but wait, what if somebody really does cross some boundaries or doesn't show up for you? Can you ever become friends again? I've alluded to maybe with enough time and, just life being fluid enough to change people for the better and bring people closer together and have more in common as the years go on. It's not like I've let everyone back into my life from the era that my dad died. And there's some people over the years, not even just about death, but about health issues I've been through or other just really big personal things that unfolded in my life who kind of they weren't great for me. And it turned out that they were probably more of a season or a reason, even though I kind of hate that quote, versus a lifetime. And I think that's going to continue to be the case, especially since I moved away from a lot of these people, not to get rid of them, but because I was chasing other dreams. And it's I don't know if we'd really be brought back together or how receptive I would be towards exploring reopening certain friendships. There's actually a decent list of both older friends as well as Los Angeles friends, so by default newer friends, whom, especially over the past year or two, but some of the older friends 100% starting from the time that my mom died, they're not really off the mat yet. They might, and I actually anticipate eventually being friends with some of the people that maybe did let me down, maybe not best friends, but more of a friendship than we have currently, for sure. But my reasons for not being friends with them or active friends with them, even though sometimes we text or sometimes there's a smoke signal, it's not all just static dead air. I'm the type of person, if you're not with me during the height of something, my boundary is I cannot catch you up after a certain point when the train's left the station and there's no stops in sight. You do not jump on this train. I do not do it. I need to get through it. I need to get to my destination in one piece and have perspective. I don't enjoy catch up when I'm still in the thick of it. If you miss how my mom died, if you miss how I'm doing 6 months after my mom died, it's going to be a minute until I can let you back in because I don't want to relive that stuff just so you have the trivia of how I've been doing. Especially if you abandoned me or didn't show up for me, I don't know if you're not going to do it again. So it's really mentally and emotionally not worth it for me to explain the horrors that I've been through. There's also friends in Los Angeles who, were in it with me more than maybe I was expecting, but they crossed certain lines or boundaries that are personal to me and not really worth exploring. But everyone has boundaries. Everyone knows what feels good to them and what does not feel good to them. And if you don't really explore them, even if you're not grieving and you just found this out of curiosity, I think it's really good to figure out what your lines in the sand and what innately feels good or bad to you. We don't do that enough in life. Thank goodness. I think that is being more normalized, but I don't hate these people. I don't even necessarily dislike them. I just need a moment until my head is screwed back on straight because like I said earlier in the video, look, I moved here 4 years ago. The pandemic happened a year and a half plus ago. And there's been some just stuff going on in my 2021. I'm not in a place to have happy times with people that I've lost touch with because I maybe felt hurt by. You're not dead to me unless you're dead. So a lot of these people, I still see the good in them and I still remember why I liked being around them. And I remember the good things that they did for me at certain times, but I don't forget the bad ways that they made me feel or the ways they belittled my feelings or the ways they promised to show up for me and then did not. Those are all really triggering things for me. And I'm just not in a place to pretend that they didn't happen or that they don't still maybe impact me when my life finally maybe turns a corner and I have some more just good things kind of going on and it feels a little more balanced than it has been the past couple years, I'd be in a place to more forgive and forget, or at least forget, because I forgive. I do. I do now. But it would be exhausting for me to try to relive, because it's been so long, what's been going on in my life. Like, I don't want to do that. And even if we could skip that, I'm not so sure that some behaviors wouldn't be repeated. Like I said, I'm kind of still in the thick of some things, maybe not actively grieving my mom, but just the compounding issues that have been 2017 to 2021 for me. It's been a lot of life change, maybe too much. I don't want to run the risk of them hurting me again. I don't have the energy for it. Without knowing if they would be more sensitive to my needs, it's not worth the risk. Just because someone can't be your friend right now doesn't mean they don't love you or like you. It just means that they need space to heal, and for some reason, you're just not the best person for them to heal with. That's my boundary. If you're not with me, I'm not going to hate you, but I'm going to need a minute before we're in a jollier place and a more consistent place. I'm going to need the space to heal with the people who have stuck by me and who have listened to me and have seen who I really am, because they've taken the time to see me for who I am, versus tell me I'm strong. See that video. I hate being called strong. See the video. It'll explain it all. But yeah, if people try to co-opt my narrative, it doesn't really tend to go too well. So if I'm still in a raw place, I can't risk it. And I think that's kind of the advice I'd give other people who are grieving. If someone doesn't feel good to you, you don't have to burn a bridge. You don't have to say that they're the worst. And please don't name call. That's never productive. But it's okay to back away and sort of see where the cards land. And that has very rarely served me wrong. I feel like the cards kind of always land where they should when I play it that way. Bad friends are exhausting, but bad friends are not necessarily bad people. And sometimes bad friends can turn into good friends, which was kind of how I started this video. Guys, friendship is complicated. This is why this was long. I have a lot to say, and I actually got kind of self-conscious filming this because, which I wasn't anticipating. I felt very hot and on fire, you know, like warm, which is like a phrase when you're on and you're performing and stuff before. And then once I started filming, it was like, well, this is weird to talk about. So I was right. We don't really talk about friendships as much as we should, because if we did, I don't think I'd be struggling to find the most succinct ways to be like, yo, friends will let you down, but it's okay. But you should have boundaries. But like, don't hate, give people space to grow, but protect you. But don't be filled with hatred for that. Like, this is, I'm exhausted after this video. Like, thank you for sticking through if you've made it this far. So look, to end, friends really can save your life in times of extreme grief. I am so thankful for my friends, and I probably did not play that up enough, because I'm talking about the harder parts of grief, and also I'm a comedian, and where there's tension and frustration, there's comedy, and where my friends are really good. There's nothing funny about that. But look, I do have a lot of really good friends. Thank goodness for them, because I have lost a lot of people. But I think the thing that I really want everyone to hear is that if you're a friend watching someone grieve, you might not know the entirety of all their complicated emotions that are coming with it, or the story that they have lived leading up to it. I think that if you are grieving, you should set your expectations as clearly as you possibly can without being psychic. I think that you should have your boundaries based on what feels good and take care of you first. And I think friends in general, whether we're talking about the death of loved ones, or whether we're just talking about like breakups or job losses or health issues or anything else that's incredibly unpleasant and life-changing in life, we have to remember that as friends, we just don't see as much as an immediate family who grew up with someone or even still lives with someone would see, nor do we see as much as even significant others. You're not going to know a friend is crying themselves to sleep at 2 a.m, unless you are like in bunk beds, like roommates. You're not going to know that. Like, you're not. I think kind of like I always said in the other videos, talk less, ask questions, listen more. What do you guys think? What's your definition of a good friend? How have friends helped you grieve? How have friends hurt you while grieving? I'm very curious. I'm always curious to hear what other people's experiences are, but this one, because the friendship thing is kind of murky, I think, in terms of a broad mainstream definition, and we have a lot of delusions based on sitcoms as opposed to accurate representations of what friendships are, I'm really curious about how much of what I said resonated versus how much of what I said is just my own personal experiences. What are the roles of friends to you? Obviously, they're very important. I ended on the happy note where it's like, no, I do love my friends and they have helped me, but friends have also been the bane of my existence sometimes during the toughest moments of my life because they think they have answers they don't, or they give weird advice, or they don't follow through with helping me out. And friends are not supposed to let you down. No, but again, we don't have a lot of songs about friend breakups or friend betrayals, but we got a lot about breakups. So we need to talk about friendship more. We need to talk about death more. And we need to talk about grieving more, as well as mental health in general. I'm Lauren-Blair Donovan. You can catch me on all the social medias now. I have a TikTok now. I haven't posted anything, but it's the same as my Instagram, Blairosaurus_Rex. It will have reels. They will not be lame. They will be making fun of lame people on TikTok. You're welcome, internet. If you have not, please subscribe. I love subscribers. When I get a new subscriber, it makes my day, so please make my day. Please like this video, please comment, please share with anyone that could benefit from this series, and please check out my other series, Creepy and Kooky Callie vlog, as well as I finally am starting to get the ball rolling on other projects that will hopefully be out by the end of the year, if not, maybe more realistically, early 2022. I've missed you. I've missed talking into my phone just like this. But thank you for welcoming me back to this series. I will have some more videos coming out very shortly. Please subscribe and follow me on social media to never miss an alert of when I'm going to be gracing you guys with a new video. Bye.